Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story: chaos, drama, and ambition at Tottenham. From big money signings and Maddison's injury setback to Levy's shock exit and Ademola Lookman's transfer saga, Spurs are entering a new era under Thomas Frank. It has been a chaotic few months at Tottenham Hotspur since Thomas Frank was named as Ange Postecoglou's replacement. In hindsight, completing the signings of Mathys Tel and Kevin Danso, and then securing the big-name additions of Mohamed Kudus and Xavi Simons, and taking their spending to over £170 million for the summer, was hugely positive. On top of that, the Lilywhites managed to bring in French striker Randal Kolo Muani on a season-long loan deal on deadline day to bolster their attack further. But Spurs fans will know that getting to this stage was anything but smooth sailing. Creative midfielder James Maddison ruptured his anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, during a pre-season game in August, while Spurs also failed miserably in trying to sign Savinho, Morgan Gibbs-White, and, most painfully, Eberechi Eze, Daniel Levy, stepping down as chairman after nearly a quarter of a century in the role earlier this month, was another bombshell. But Spurs have managed to rally and enjoy a steady start to the campaign under new boss Frank, as we now take a look at two major talking points this week. Tottenham-linked winger Ademola Lookman's situation at Atalanta is growing increasingly toxic. The Nigeria international has not played for the Serie A side since failing to force through a move to Inter Milan in the summer transfer window. Lookman has been at odds with the club since Atalanta refused to sell him to a rival, and he handed in a transfer request before publicly accusing them of breaking a promise. The Italian outfit hit back by claiming the agreement to sell him for a certain fee only applied to non-Italian clubs. The 27-year-old has trained alone since going on strike and was not part of the team's preparations on Tuesday to face PSG on Wednesday night in their opening Champions League game of the season. Manager Ivan Djuric last week described the relationship as strained after Lookman met with club chiefs to discuss his role at the club. Djuric said Lookman won't be called up. It's a bad, unpleasant situation. We need spirit, fighting spirit, humility, hard work, and a sense of belonging. Our players need to be like this. I want a different level of humanity. He followed those damning comments by adding, "I have a very good relationship with Lookman, but I shouldn't have to beg him to play." Should Lookman and Atalanta fail to bury the hatchet, the situation will play into the hands of potential suitors, including Tottenham. Spurs were reported last month to have inquired about the forward. Atalanta were willing to sell Lookman for £43.3 million, and the player was offered to Spurs on numerous occasions during the window, though the North Londoners never made a formal offer. If the situation persists in the coming months, Spurs will be confident that they can sign the player for a bargain fee of around £20 million in January, given that Frank is reportedly a big admirer. Levy's sudden departure sparked rumours of a potential takeover deal at Spurs, which was swiftly denied by Tottenham in an official statement. The board of the club and ENIC confirmed that Tottenham Hotspur is not for sale, and ENIC has no intention to accept any such offer to acquire its interest in the club, the statement read. ENIC owns an 86.91% stake in Spurs, while the remainder is owned by a group of minority investors. Levy and members of his family hold a 29.88% share in the British investment company, and Joe Lewis's family trust owning the remaining 70.12%. That leaves an awkward situation whereby Levy still owns shares in the club. Football Insider reports that ENIC is likely looking to find a buyer for his shares, with any potential deal expected to take place in the Bahamas, where Lewis and Spurs' new non-executive chairman Peter Charrington are based. The outlet quoted former Manchester City financial advisor Stefan Borson as saying, "I think that they're being honest in terms of them not having a particular desire to sell right now, certainly not all of it. But I do think that the situation with Daniel Levy doesn't seem to be sustainable. He's been effectively excluded from the management group. He's got a very substantial holding in the club. Indirectly, he owns 30% of ENIC, so you would think that the possibility at the ENIC level, not the Tottenham Hotspur level, that there might be some discussions about who can replace Daniel Levy within the ENIC group that would then be the ultimate holder of shares in Tottenham Hotspur. Now that transaction, if it happened, would take place in the Bahamas. Daniel Levy and his family would receive the consideration of that sale of that 30%, and probably would not be anything to do with the takeover code, given that that company is a private Bahamas-based entity. When it comes to prospective buyers, Amanda Staveley's company, PCP International Finance, had been reported as a potential suitor, but PCP released a statement shortly afterwards saying they did not intend to make a bid for Tottenham. Tottenham's new era begins. CEO Vinay Venkatesham has promised fans that the Lewis family are fully committed to making Spurs a trophy-winning force, with ambition, passion and belief at the heart of the project. Tottenham's Chief Executive Officer, Vinay Venkatesham, has made it clear that the club's ambitious owners are focused on sporting success at the club. Venkatesham was joined at Spurs' Champions League victory against Villarreal on Tuesday night by new non-executive chairman Peter Charrington, as well as Vivian and Charles Lewis, the children of former Tottenham owner Joe Lewis. The siblings are now the power behind the club as senior managing directors of Tavistock, the group behind Spurs owners ENIC. Vivian's son-in-law, Nick Butcher, co-CEO of Tavistock, with former Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy's son Josh, is also a powerful player behind the scenes. In terms of the daily running of the club though, it will be Venkatesham who is in charge as CEO, and he wrote a message to the club's fans in the matchday programme for the European match this week, and here is what it said in full. Dear supporters, as this is our first home match since the recent announcement of Daniel's departure, I'd like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to our outgoing executive chairman. It read, "The club has come a long way over the last 25 years, and that is down to Daniel's vision, passion and commitment. He has played a huge part in the transformation of the club, and his contribution to where Tottenham Hotspur is today is quite simply immense. He was one of the longest-serving Premier League chairmen, and if you look back at Daniel's time involved in football, his legacy is really clear for everyone to see. For me personally, he has been a wonderful support over my first few months, and I feel really settled in at Spurs. Whilst it is a natural time to look back, we must also look ahead. We are entering a new era of leadership at the club, completely backed by our majority shareholder. The Lewis family, I know the family very well. I think it's important for you to know that they are extremely passionate about Tottenham Hotspur, and they are ambitious for the club. They are focused on ensuring that everything we do across the complete breadth of the club centres on long-term sporting success. Of course, we know a number of other teams that have the exact same ambitions we have to compete to win the biggest trophies in the game. That means there is hard work ahead to reach our goals. When I joined, I talked about being focused on three main things, which haven't changed. The first is doing everything I could to support our technical teams on the ground, across both our men's and women's teams, to give us the best chance to be successful on the pitch. The second is our people at the club, ensuring that we have the right talent and culture to drive us forward, both on and off the pitch. Last, but by no means least, is our relationship with our supporters, ensuring we are bringing you closer to your club, communicating better with you, and actively listening to your views and thoughts. We have amazing foundations. The stadium, the training centre, being based in London, and of course our huge global fan base. Then, on that amazing night in Bilbao in May, we added belief. Belief that we can win and keep winning. So as we embark on another European campaign tonight, I know you will all put your full energy and focus in supporting the team for a huge season ahead. Tottenham Hotspur are back in the Champions League, but it wasn't the glamorous return fans were hoping for. A bizarre goalkeeper blunder gifted Spurs a 1-0 win over Villarreal in a night more about grit than glory. Still, Thomas Frank has delivered 4 wins from his first 5 games and 4 clean sheets a start that could set the tone for Spurs' European journey. Let's break down the drama, the reaction, and what this result really means for Tottenham's future. As Champions League returns go, this didn't quite have the glitz and glamour expected, but ultimately the job was done. There was something just a little off-key about the whole evening. It began with a downbeat rendition of Can't Smile Without You, a song always better after a game than before, as it's not exactly an adrenaline-pumping ditty. The crowd only numbered 54,755, for Tottenham's return to Europe's biggest competition, which said as much about the pricing of the fixture as anything else, leaving the club scrambling to send emails to fans in the weeks ahead of the game, telling them that they could bring up to 6 friends to sit with them. The first home Champions League game at Spurs in 2.5 years should have brought a sellout crowd in the 62,850-seater stadium rather than rows of empty seats. Even the Villarreal fans couldn't be bothered, with just 220 of them making the trip in their bright yellow shirts out of the 3,000 allocation. The football on the pitch matched the mood. Between them, the two sides huffed, puffed and toiled, and could only muster a single shot on goal, Pape Matar Sarr's low shot from outside the box. Even the goal that won it came from a moment of farce. Lucas Bergvall's low cross appeared to have been collected by Villarreal goalkeeper Luis Jr., only for the Brazilian to inexplicably allow the ball to roll out of his hands, down his body behind him, and across the goal line. Spurs rode their luck in the remaining 86 minutes, and could easily have had Xavi Simons and Mickey van der Ven sent off on another night, but ultimately Thomas Frank got to the end of a night lacking in any star quality, with a debut Champions League victory. In any other year, Tottenham might have crumbled. They might have generously gifted their visitors a late leveller to share the spoils. Instead, in the toughest competition in the sport, against a tricky side with previous in shocking so-called bigger clubs, Spurs grabbed all 3 points to kick off their Champions League campaign. It means the North London side are now unbeaten in their past 21 home games in European competitions. I thought it was a big win. In any competition, it's good to get 3 points and get a good start. I'm happy with that, Frank told Football.London. I'm happy with the clean sheet. I'm happy with the defensive side of the game. I think we were extremely good and limited. Villarreal to very little throughout the game. They were a good team I really admire. Obviously, offensively, we struggled on the day to create something against a good team. They also defended very well, which we knew in the 4-4-2 structure. They were very aggressive. They needed the highest level in terms of touch, passing and decision-making. And they nailed that. Then it was a very even game that we edged in the end. What I like is that our foundation is strong. Now we are 4 games won, 3 in the Premier League, 1 in the Champions League, and we have 4 sheets, which is massive. He added, obviously, we are building the offensive structure more and more. Xavi Simons has just come into the club. It's fair to say he and Died need a little relationship, of course, to get going. No complaints, it's just natural. I think there was a spell in the second half where we decided to give the ball away every single time we had it. We gave the ball away, let's bring it back. Give it away, let's bring it back. Of course, it's a little bit easier to sit here with a smile, but of course, at that level, we will raise, of course. They say that all the best teams are built first from the back, and Frank certainly seems to be doing that. 4 clean sheets in 5 games with 1 goal conceded is not normal for Tottenham Hotspur. We talked a lot about clean sheet mentality this year, because we conceded a lot last year, Lucas Bergvall told Amazon Prime. Villarreal did not have a shot on target, so we did a really good job. Mickey van der Ven added, I think we are a difficult team to play against for sure. Structure-wise, we are standing really good, and we all know what to do, so we're a difficult team to beat. The key for Frank is that this needs to be the foundation rather than the whole building. For a certain Nuno Espirito Santo went through his first month at Spurs with 4 clean sheets from the first 5 matches as well, including conceding only once. Of course, Frank's Spurs have scored more, with 9 goals in those 5 matches compared to Tottenham's 6 back in 2021.